It's Friday, Friday. Ian Rogers, CEO of TopSpin Media, is with us in the studio. Mike Bracco's going to do the news. Fun.
So excited.
So excited. It's Friday. All that and more right now on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
And we're back. It's Friday. It's Friday. Fun. Tyler is on remote location. Tyler, where are you now? Where are you today?
PP Islands. It's
PP Islands?
Yes, in the Andaman Sea.
Is that a joke or something?
No,
PP
south of Phuket.
It must be freezing there. Look
Yes,
at you.
I know.
PP Islands. Wow. It's nighttime there. That's what it is.
PHI.
PP Islands. I've never even heard of this.
Pronounced
But there it is.
PP.
There it is on my screen, guys.
Huh.
It's right next to Phuket.
Right next to Phuket. Wow, look at these photos of this place. My goodness, you're having a good time there, aren't you? Wow, life is good for Tyler. Look at that. You launch Squeal, and everything. The money starts rolling in, and then you move to an island.
That was the plan all along.
There you go. He's on his island. He got his jet and his island. He's all set.
Wow.
It's amazing. What a great show we have here today. Ian Rogers is on the program, CEO of TopSpin, and so much more. We'll get into that in a minute. But before we do, I just wanted to let everybody know that MailChimp is a great piece of software, great software as a service that I use, and they've newly upgraded their free plan. You can have 2,000 subscribers and send up to 12,000 emails a month. That's more than enough for everybody, except for the biggest publishers. And by that time, you're going to get their really affordable plan, which I use. No contract, no trial, and the free plan is always free. And that's the great thing about it. It's software as a service. You only pay for what you use. You can always tell that somebody is really confident about their product when they do pay as you go. Right, Tyler? I mean, they're not trying to lock you into a contract. A lot of these email service providers try to lock you into like a 12-month contract, 24-month contract. MailChimp is flawless. I use it for the launch newsletter. I use it for Mahalo, and I use it for This Week In, and I use it for Jason Nation. I have been using it now for over 6 months, and I love it. I love it. It's a wonderful, incredible product. Go sign up for the launch newsletter if you haven't, launch.is/newsletter, and you will see how great it is. And boy, if there's ever a problem, they are on it. We had like one, out of the tens of thousands of people subscribe, like once in a while somebody will have it in their spam folder, like very, not often. But when they do, they pick up on it on the Twitter stream. And on the Twitter stream, they'll go to the person like, I don't even know about it, but they're watching for anybody saying MailChimp. It's just one of those like tight organizations you can trust with something as important as email, and they have been a great sponsor. If you sign up for MailChimp and you spend any kind of money with them, just forward your receipt to contest@thisweekend, and I'll send you one of these beautiful bags, the This Week in Startup bags. There's only about 50 of them left, and we'll show them on the screen right now. You can't buy those, but if you patronize. How do you say that, Tyler? Patronize?
Either way. Patronize,
how would you become a patron of? But isn't when you patronize somebody like you're placating them like in a way or something? But what is when you're a patron?
Patronizing, yeah. I guess it has
What
a
is it
dual
when
meaning,
you
right?
use a service?
You're a patron.
You're a patron of the service.
Yes.
You're not patronizing them.
Right.
You're a patron of the service. And if you utilize the service, we will send you one of those bags for free. Just send your receipt to contest@thisweekend. I've known Ian Rogers for a while. He has been in the music space forever. You were working at, I'm going to get into all this, but I know that there was something with the Beastie Boys. I know you worked for Nullsoft with the Winamp and Shoutcast and all that kind of stuff. Then when you were part of AOL, after AOL you were at Yahoo doing Yahoo Music, and then you went on to start TopSpin, which you're going to hear all about today. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's about time. We've been waiting and waiting. Now, TopSpin officially launched or opened its doors when?
So we've actually been selling things since the beginning of 2008.
Right.
But last week at South by Southwest, we opened to anybody who walks in our front door, basically.
And so what is the service? Who uses it? Why do they use it?
The people that use it are artists, musicians, filmmakers, authors, anybody who is looking to take their art from an unknown to a known,
Right.
from making it go unnoticed to be noticed, build connections with their fans, and then ultimately, turn those fans into customers. Ultimately at the bottom of the funnel, you're transacting, whether you're selling something digital or physical or a ticket or a fan club or anything you might be doing, and you can do all the above with TopSpin.
So the music industry, selling records, kind of hard to do, selling tracks. Musicians don't make money from that anymore, right?
There definitely some people do sell tracks, but the best way to put it is that there's been this great unbundling, right? You used to have this really efficient product, the CD, and you could charge people $17 at Best Buy who really only wanted that one song, and that's really the business that's gone. I mean, the music business in total has health in a lot of spots, but the CD business is really what's dead when people talk about things being dead. And it was unbundled first by Napster, and we were a part of that somewhat with Gnutella at Nullsoft, and then but even iTunes is a form of unbundling, right? Because you don't need to spend $17 to get that one track anymore. It's 99 cents.
Right.
So a lot of what we do is selling. We're selling things that you can't get. You can't just download from iTunes, whether it's a ticket or a fan club or a personal experience. And we've had people sell cars and crazy stuff using TopSpin.
And so, is it necessary to have a record label today? What is the role of getting signed? Is that still the goal of musicians is to get signed, or is it to get a mailing list?
Yeah. Thankfully, no. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a it used to be that was step one. I made this music. Now I got to get signed. I got to get signed. I got to get signed. I got to get noticed. And thankfully, that's not the goal anymore. Artists definitely need help. We've worked with a lot of bands who are truly independent. Most recently, a great case study, this band called the Civil Wars, who sold 35,000 records their first week out, and they expected to sell one or two. And they've made the decision to stay totally independent. Last year, a big success, the band called Metric, who were also totally independent. But Metric's manager will tell you, they have more people working for them and working on the album than they would if they were at a label. So it's not that they're all sitting at their kitchen table doing it all themselves. They have people working on them. They just they built that team themselves instead of saying, hey, give me an advance, take all of my rights and do all this for me. They went, you know what, we've got a fan base. We built them ourselves over the last 5 years. We have mechanisms now like TopSpin, like a direct deal with iTunes. We've got these connections ourselves. We can go do this ourselves, and they put their own team around it.
Gotcha. So
you've got a manager playing quarterback, and a team built around it. So I'd say it's funny to me. I thought 17, 18 years ago when I first started thinking about how the internet would impact music. I had that moment looking at IUMA. You remember IUMA?
Yeah, sure.
Like, oh, this is going to change everything, and you kind of imagine it all going digital. And I realize now it's not about things going digital. It's about choice. So now artists have choice of which partners they work with, and customers have choice as well. So if you think about what Trent Reznor did when he said, look, I'm going to release my albums myself. I'm going to have a whole bunch of different price points from free is a price point, all the way up to $300. He turned the question around from what the music industry has been saying to the fans, which is, hey, you bastards, stop stealing from us. Please pay us for this thing we know you can get for free. He looked at his fans and just went, how big a fan are you? Here you go. You're a new fan, not big a fan, here, free, take it. You're a big fan, I've got something for you that's really valuable. Here's this $300 coffee table book with vinyl, and you want this.
And it's awesome, and I
awesome.
do.
It really was awesome. When I got it, I went, this is the best music product I've ever seen in my life. It was totally worth $300.
So let's go back in time to your career. You started in the music business and the internet business how?
So I did an undergrad degree in computer science, and I got lucky. I was working at the Indiana University Music Library, and the guy who ran the music library had this crazy idea in 1991 that instead of dropping vinyl on records and having people sit at a long table with headphones to listen to the whatever piece they had to hear for M100 or whatever, it's all going to be computers, and we're going to we're going to stream it to workstations throughout the library. And this, so I got that job as a work-study job. It was not my idea, but I got the job because I'm a gigantic music fan.
What year is this?
1991, the end of 91.
And so what are you ripping WAV files? What was the file type at that time?
WAV files, MP2s, which you had to have a Turtle Beach sound card to play.
Right, I mean, you could, back then, people don't realize, most computers did not have a CD-ROM drive, and if they did, it wasn't connected to the music card. Right?
Correct.
It was just data.
Yeah, no, there was.
You couldn't play music in it.
And the early days of those CD cards, there was actually an analog out.
There was an analog out
right.
that went back into your music board, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so then you would be like, it would almost be like just putting a Walkman into the back of your machine.
Exactly, yeah.
You had this like special
cable. I still
cable.
have some MP3s that I ripped that way.
Wow.
Which was like real-time ripping, but it was actually just recording from the CD to the hard drive. So stupid.
Right.
But yeah, so it was a very cool project. I built the whole thing on Next.
And Next Computers, Steve Jobs' computer company when he got kicked out of
I want to show you this.
Apple. Oh wow, you have a Next tattoo. That is awesome. Has Steve Jobs ever seen that?
I don't think he's seen it.
Wait, put that back up for a second. We got to get that on camera.
Walt Mossberg.
Look right there. That is God damn, I almost feel like we should get a freestanding look at it. That is awesome.
Circa 1991, that tattoo is my first tattoo.
I mean, if you have an Apple, you don't have an Apple tattoo.
I don't have an Apple tattoo.
Right,
that's better than an Apple tattoo.
I was about to say,
having
an Apple tattoo is a bag move, but having a Next, that is winning.
Thank you. But for me, I love Next. I mean, look, if you do any OS X programming, the window is still NS window.
Yeah.
It's Next Step underneath your OS X machine. So I was a huge Next fanatic, obviously.
Right.
And
you still have your Next system?
I don't. I gave the last one away when I moved a few years ago. I had a Cube and it didn't work. The mouse didn't work, and
What was that machine like when you first got it? What made it so special? When did it come out? Like, is that 90?
They came out around. Well, I actually think they came out in the late '80s, but we didn't get them at the university until around '90.
What did they cost, and what was different about them?
Well, I'm trying to remember what they cost because I actually had on my desk at the music library. I had a slab, they called it.
Yeah.
There were the cubes, which had an optical drive.
Wow.
And they had one of the cool things about them is they had a built-in DSP, which was unique for the time.
Digital sound.
Digital signal processor.
Signal processor.
Yeah, so you could actually do some very cool audio and video mixing out of the box.
Right.
And they had great APIs for it. No surprise, but they were beautiful machines.
Right.
They were first monochrome. Then they did have some color ones. They were in the $5,000 range, if I recall correctly.
They were like Sun workstations at that time. It was comparable.
They had 68030 chips in them, so they were not super fast, but they were beautiful. I loved it as a nerd, just for the APIs and I spent my undergrad building little audio mixers and whatnot under Next Step.
Wow.
So what happened though is I built this. Sorry to get way off nerd.
No, I have to. When you go that deep into nerddom, I have to revel in it. I love reminiscing about those days.
Oh man, it was great. So you'll appreciate this. So what happened was we built this. We built this system where you could search the card catalog. It was a Notice database, this big monolithic card catalog at Indiana University. And what we did is we were attaching multimedia records to those records.
Wow.
And then you could stream it. If you found the record, it would stream it from this. So IBM on the RS6000s had a Shark file system. It was their multimedia file system.
Wow.
And you could stream from there to the Next. And we built it there. We built it under OS2.
Wow.
So we're touching all the platforms people actually use, right?
Yeah.
This was the problem. So every time we would do the demo, people would go, "Oh my God, this is incredible!
Right.
You're going to make this work for Windows and Mac, right?"
Right.
And this
is
like Windows.
Not possible. Yeah.
This is Windows 3.1 land. There was no TCP/IP
Windows
stack.
Windows 3.1. If you ran more than 2 programs, it was over.
Well, and there was. Windows did not have the internet, right? You had to get like FTP software.
Yeah.
And it was an add-on.
Right.
So, so I basically said, no, I'm not writing it for Windows or Mac.
Bill Gates can write that.
Yeah, exactly. But there was this brand new thing which was only available for X Windows. But the word was it was going to spread to other platforms. It was called the World Wide Web. And I had, I said, okay, if I build this for the web, maybe I won't have to write it for Windows or Mac.
What browser was the first browser you ever on?
It was Mosaic.
Mosaic.
Yeah.
Without images, which is text-based.
No, I think there were images when I started using it.
Yeah.
You couldn't, there was no background colors. And
No.
You couldn't put text down the side of an image, right?
Right.
An image was a character, but
Right.
I believe there were images at that point.
Yeah.
And it was, and then I remember we had some of the, since we were at Indiana University and, and Mark was at UIUC just sort of a stone's throw away in Champaign. We
Mark
actually
Andreessen.
Mark Andreessen. So we had the early versions of like Mosaic for Mac, which came before Mosaic for Windows. So we basically wrote that as a web app. And
I almost feel like we need to explain what the card catalog is, because when you used to go to the library, kids, there was a card catalog, and you looked up a topic, and then it told you what rack to go to, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
But now it's all on computers, I guess. Do card catalogs even exist in schools anymore?
Unfortunately, I bet that the way we fund our schools, I'm sure they do.
That's mind-blowing to think about using a card catalog today. I
Yeah.
wonder but it's also kind of sad to think about throwing them away.
Yeah.
And burning them. Or maybe not. Maybe that's cool. What do they do with all those big pieces of furniture with 1,000 skinny drawers on?
There's got to be a good use for those.
Ties. It's like for ties. You put ties in there.
Socks?
Socks, something. So then what happens? I mean, you help build this.
So sorry
basically, you built Napster in
a
legal version of Napster in an office.
That's what I was going to say. It's been Groundhog Day ever since.
Yeah.
I've built that same product now 5 times. But what happened was, so in the course of that, got interested in the web. And the Indiana University Music Library website was the second ever music-related website. But I started building them for, what I started doing, actually, you'll appreciate this too, was taking what I was doing on Usenet and moving it to the web.
Right.
One of those things was the Beastie Boys FAQ, which I managed on Usenet.
Wow.
And I brought that to the web.
Frequently asked questions.
Correct.
And so in the early days of the web, you didn't have web pages about stuff. You had Usenet, which was a message system, like a message board, essentially.
Yep.
And they used to have FAQs.
You had to, because otherwise newbies would come in and ask the same questions over and over. So what you'd do is somebody owned the FAQ, you kept it up to date, and once a week or once every couple weeks you
Who are
post
the members of the Beastie Boys? When are they going on tour?
Right.
What was their first album? Where are they from? All these things.
Exactly.
And everything had an FAQ.
Exactly. And then when the web came along, it was only natural to put that on the web. So it was there, always. Gopher never really got to the place where everybody had it, but the web was there. So we moved that info to the web. So I started, I'm a perfectionist, and I started putting everything I could on this website. And one time I took the Beastie Boys performance on Letterman, and I had it on the web as a QuickTime file before it aired on the West Coast.
Whoa.
And my phone rang, and it was the Beastie Boys manager. And I said, okay, I'm getting shut down for copyright
Right,
infringement.
absolutely.
And he's a very smart guy, and instead he said, this is awesome, will you do this for all of my bands?
Whoa.
So I did what I thought was a very controversial move. I started charging him $8.50 to put all of his bands on the internet, and I just started a little business doing that. So then I became friendly with the band. I dropped out of grad school in '95 to go on tour with the Beastie Boys, and then ended up here. I've been here in LA ever since.
What was that, Licensed to Ill, or no? That was in high school. I was in high school, Licensed to Ill.
Licensed to Ill was 85.
That was 85.
And I left in '95, so that was Ill Communication.
Ill Communication. Oh wow.
Ripped down and Sabotage and
I was about to say Brass Monkey, that Funky Monkey, but this is way
after. 10 years after. They had mellowed quite a bit by then.
Yeah.
There were not Budweiser and giant phalluses on stage anymore.
No. So you spent some time at Nullsoft, Winamp, Shoutcast, and all that stuff.
Yep.
People don't remember. There was no way to play MP3s in music. You needed to have a third-party piece of software.
It was actually through the way that came about is, that's exactly right, because I was on tour with the Beastie Boys again in 1998. I got them in a bunch of trouble and on the front page of the Wall Street Journal and Red Herring because I was recording.
Editor's note: Red Herring was a publication like TechCrunch, but in 1998.
and it was
I'll continue this program.
And it was made of paper.
It was made of paper.
But what we were doing is we were recording from the soundboard. We'd get back on the tour bus every night and listen to the audio, and then make MP3s of it and post them on the website. Which in 1998
was ridiculous.
You actually had to tell people, here's what you do with this file.
Right.
Now download this file. Now go get this program called Winamp.
Right.
And
open it.
Open it. Here's how you do it. I mean, it was even encoding those. It was a command line encoder.
Yeah.
To make the MP3s.
Yeah.
But so then I got a call from my friend Rob Lord, who I had known from IUMA, just to bring it all the way back to that. And he said, hey, Ian, is that you on the other side of that Beastie Boys site? Because it's me on the other side of this Winamp site. So I got home from tour. I didn't have a job, and they hired me as their first employee at Nullsoft.
That's incredible. And now people don't know, but Nullsoft, which made Winamp, which was the #1 MP3 player for a long time.
Yeah, for a very long time.
I mean, it had tens of millions of users.
Still has tens of millions of users, believe it or not.
And there was something called Gnutella.
Yeah. So they.
Well, it was GN.
GNU. So
GNU.
Yeah. So they made Winamp. Then it's really Justin. Justin and Tom Pepper made Shoutcast, which was brilliant because it just used really off-the-shelf tools to do broadcasting.
Right.
It was very, very incredibly simple broadcasting technology.
Your own streaming. Yes. It was Ustream before Ustream.
Exactly, on the audio side. And then they made, there's a long story around why and how we made Gnutella. But Gnutella was in reaction to what was happening with Napster, because here Napster had happened. Napster was getting sued, and we said, wait a minute, suing Napster is not the answer, because you cannot stop this. Like, yes, Napster has a flaw, but the flaw is they have a central server. You don't need that central server. Watch this.
You could do peer-to-peer.
So Gnutella was the first sort of true peer-to-peer network. I mean, the Gnutella stuff that Justin wrote is still in use today.
Yeah, and he open sourced it, and there were 1,000 flavors of it.
Yep.
And basically, nobody could get shut down because nobody actually had the files. Everybody had the files, or nobody had the files, or whatever.
Yep.
And Scour at the same time, I guess. It was like 3
there
of
was
these
Scour,
clients.
there was Audio Galaxy, Gnutella.
Gnutella was the crazy one.
Yeah, and Gnutella is what a lot of things grew out of the Gnutella open source stuff, which BearShare and Kazaa and LimeWire, I believe, were all based on the Gnutella code base.
And those all have since been shut down. And now, did you guys release Gnutella when you were... Winamp got sold to AOL.
Correct.
And did Gnutella come after that?
Yeah.
So you guys released a massive piracy...
At the time...
when you were working for Ted Leonsis at AOL and Steve Case.
Yeah, and when they were trying to merge with Time Warner.
So
it was a very unpopular thing to do.
Take me to the meeting where they come and tell you, what the F are you guys doing? There must have been like a legal meeting or something that happened. What happened?
Well, you know, it was basically, it leaked out. We didn't actually release it.
Right.
So Justin, I mean, Justin is a genius and really an incredible engineer. And so he really only worked on Gnutella for about 30 days. The whole story is that Rob and I saw Napster, and we knew Sean Fanning because he hung out in sort of the Winamp chat room. And we actually got introduced to him by Doug Song. I don't know if you know Doug. But we said, this is, Rob and I knew enough about the music business to know this was not a good idea, right? And we actually called the RIAA and a friend at the RIAA and said, have you seen this? This can't be legal. If it is, we want to do this.
Right.
This is our space. Right?
Yeah.
So we don't think that this is legal, but if it is, we'd
like to do it.
We would like to do this.
Yes,
right?
Please.
So we had actually started working on a product. It was unclear, actually, what was going to happen. So we'd started working on a project that was web-based.
There was a big legal question. Is it legal to share your MP3 files?
Right.
People did not know.
Correct.
And there was major debates for years and years. Is it legal for me to give you one of my songs? Because it's not illegal for me to give you my CD and for you to give it back to me, so why should it be legal for me to give you the MP3?
And we didn't believe that was legal, but we thought, well, there's a product opportunity here. Clearly, I mean, the product growth was insane.
Yeah.
And we were working on things that we thought would be legal. We had kind of a web-based version that was limited use, etc. We couldn't get the resources out of AOL to actually build the web-based version. So Justin had built this P2P version without the intent of releasing it, and it leaked out there.
Yes.
Is really what happened.
Accidentally.
Exactly. So we didn't.
Absolutely. Accidentally.
So we didn't actually ever release it.
And that is the story.
We kind of had to wash our hands on it. And one of my favorite quotes, though, is Tom Pepper from Nullsoft got a call from Time Magazine. God knows how they got to him. God knows why he picked up the call. We're kids. Right. And he said, no, this is not about music. This is about, we actually built this to share recipes. We're cooks. We like to share. This is about.
Yeah.
This is not about music.
You were effing with them. You were effing.
Not about. This is about sharing recipes. Right. But it was also a way of saying, this thing will share anything.
Yeah.
This is about sharing files.
Movies.
Yeah. Napster.
TV shows.
It was kind of a way of saying it's so much bigger than that.
Right. It is nuclear.
Right.
You are screwed.
And that was sort of, as technologists, that's where we were coming from philosophically was, man, why would you try to shut this down? This is a foregone conclusion. This is, unless you're going to shut down TCP/IP, it's trivial for me to transfer bits to you.
And see, at that time, correct me if I'm wrong, but people like yourselves looked at the internet as like this great unifying force for peace, for freedom of speech, and to try to stop it or slow it down in any way, in some ways made you like the empire. That you were evil if you were trying to slow this down. It was very religious for that first group of people on the internet.
Yeah, no question. And for us, and for me as a music fanatic and what we wanted to do with the music business, I mean, we actually tried to license MP3s for sale in 1999.
Right.
Because we said, look, we're Winamp. We have an audience of tens of millions of people in 1999. They have already expressed to you the format they would like to receive their music in.
MP3s.
It's called MP3. We know that. I've got those customers. Why don't we license this? You're not going to shut down the illegal activity, but if you make it simple and convenient and really pleasant,
Give them an option.
Yeah, to get it the way they want to do it, then they're going to do it.
What did they say?
First they said, "What's an MP3?" And then they said, "No."
Right, and so that is basically the story of Napster and the music industry for the first 10, 15 years of the internet.
It took 8 years for MP3 to get licensed. From the time that I first asked for that license to when we finally had that license and I was at Yahoo.
And they were correct in a way that their whole livelihood, we started the conversation with, the $17 CD is gone. They basically tried to hold on, and did, successfully, for maybe 8 years.
Well, CD sales continued to grow through 2000.
Right.
And the sort of the apex there was In Sync. And then it just has been a decline year over year ever since.
Right. So in some ways, they probably made some extra X number of $1 billion holding on, but then did they lose their leverage by not owning iTunes themselves, by not owning the MP3 player or having the format? Could they have done it better by having embraced it?
I actually think they didn't gain anything by waiting. I think they should have started to shift consumer behavior away from piracy immediately. I just saw a stat this morning that less than 9% of consumers actually pirate.
Right.
So they've done it.
Sounds about the same rate as people who are making cassette tapes with dual cassette.
It's true. And you have there are enough free or easy and legal ways to get music now that people are there, and subscription services are going to take off in the next 5
$10
years.
Rhapsody, Spotify. It's a joke.
It's great, and we're not going to connect our iPhone via a little wire to our computer in 5 years and get our music that way, right?
That's the point.
It's going to be over the air. They definitely could and should have started turning that tide immediately. They definitely put people into the habit of stealing, because by not giving them the product in the format that they wanted,
right,
they encouraged people to steal for 8 years.
It was the easiest way to do it.
Yeah,
it's almost today like movies and it's almost like movies and TV shows today, where for a lot of people it's so confusing how to watch the TV show online. Does Hulu have it? Is it on iTunes?
Yeah.
What are the regulations on iTunes? That they'd rather just go to BitTorrent and get the file with the ads cut out, and they can get it in 10, 20 minutes.
But the TV and film industry has done a much better job.
Right. At least it is available.
At least it is available.
Still
on
too
Netflix.
confusing.
Yes.
Still too many rules.
No question. But at least it is available, right?
Right.
I mean, my daughter was watching Anastasia on the iPad this morning,
right,
and I spent $10 on it because it was easy. And
yeah,
I didn't have to worry about anything. I didn't worry about was it the right copy? Was it a video camera?
Copy.
I'm happy to pay for it if you make
right,
it convenient for me.
So now you've gone through this whole experience. You spent a little bit of time at Yahoo.
Yep.
Rob
and I had a startup that we sold to Yahoo in 2003.
Which was?
It was called Media Code, and it was an in the cloud music locker. It was a personal media management locker. So we didn't want to get any licenses. We knew we didn't have enough time, energy, or money to go license anything. But we said, we can help you. We basically want to build Winamp in the cloud.
Right.
Which is what we did. We had Divx as a customer, so we did audio and video.
Right. Wasn't Michael Robertson doing the same thing at the same time with MP3? Was trying to do like a locker, like put your MP3s up here at
MP3.com. So he did it with
MP3.com,
and then I think a little bit after us, he did it with MP3 Tunes.
Yeah.
And we talked to Michael quite a bit through the process.
Right.
We were also geeking out on web services at the time.
Yeah.
So it was a web service for personal media management. It was very cool, actually.
You were doing cloud-based stuff in 2000.
In 2001, 2002, 2003.
You said it's easier to store this on our server.
We actually didn't store it on our servers.
Wow.
It was pretty cool, actually. We would actually tunnel through and stream it from your PC to wherever you were. So to Winamp. Or Windows Media Player, whatever you were using.
And there was they didn't have any. You didn't run into any legal headaches with that company.
No, we were too small. I mean, who knows? We might have gotten there eventually. But I think generally you logged in and got access to your media. The thing is, there are a bunch of products today like Skifta, which is Qualcomm's product, which does that. I think the Google Music product will do something very similar. We were just, but again, there's no prize for being early, right? Being early is the same
Well, this
as
is the
being
fourth
wrong.
time you've gone up the hill and gotten arrows.
Yeah, and we actually, that was a good outcome.
Yeah, that was fine. You sold it to Yahoo.
We sold to Yahoo, good return for everybody.
Yeah.
It's also one of those things you look back and go, could have been bigger if we'd have done it 5 years later.
Right.
So, but that was a great experience, and I loved being at Yahoo. I was, Dave Goldberg brought us into Yahoo. And
he had sold Launch.
He sold Launch to Yahoo.
A Santa Monica-based company as well.
Yep. And he brought us in there and really took
And
great
Yahoo
care
had
of
the
us.
first subscription service for music, or is it Yahoo and Rhapsody? Or?
Rhapsody was definitely first. Rhapsody had been around since 2002.
Right.
And
Rob Glazer.
Rob Glazer. Music Match was really next.
Mm-hmm.
And then we released Yahoo Music Unlimited in 2005, and it was distinctive because it was cheap. It was the first $5 a month.
It was $5 a month, yeah.
$5 a month, unlimited. But it had, so the streaming service was $5 a month, and then it had this much more complicated, you can transfer to any device that's not an iPod.
5 songs or something.
Yeah, it was a subscription download service. So inevitably you'd be on vacation and all of your licenses would expire and you couldn't listen to anything on your creative MP3 player anymore. It was definitely a lesson in Clayton Christensen's Innovator's Dilemma. In the beginning of markets, integrated solutions beat disintegrated solutions.
Right.
The integrated solution was Apple. They own the OS, they own the player, they own the store, they own the hardware.
Your headphones.
Right.
Yep.
Disintegrated solution, we were built on top of Windows Media DRM. MusicNet was our, now MediaNet was our sort of licensing layer. We built the software, and then you had Samsung, Toshiba, Creative, iRiver, whoever built. There was just no way that chain was going to work.
Right.
Technology was too early. The integrated solution was going to dominate that whole period.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
And so then at some point you leave Yahoo and decide you want to do a new company, or you leave Yahoo and then...
So April 2008, I left to join a company already in progress. That I was, I'm technically a founder, but really it was founded by Peter Gocher and Shamal Ranasinghe. Peter started Digidesign in the 80s and invented Pro Tools. Shamal was at Music Match, which is where I met him, and then Yahoo Music, and before that he was at Real Networks. And they'd had this vision that the question was simply, what comes after Pro Tools, right? You've got professional software to produce, and the cost of production has come way down. The cost of distribution has come way down thanks to the internet, but the cost of marketing is actually increasing because you have empowered consumers with unlimited choice. So how do you get to consumers, and what's the software that's going to help you with that workflow? So that's really what TopSpin has been about. It's what's the workflow for marketing and retail?
Enabling them. And another thing that's enabling people, Ian, is actually GoToWebinar. It's a pretty good segue, huh?
That was not bad at all.
Not bad, not bad. GoToWebinar, it's dead simple and a fast way to share your presentations, video, audio, with a group. I used it for the launch conference. We had 70, maybe 100 of the people who were in the Launchpad on a call, and it worked flawlessly. It worked so well that I didn't even know what I was using, and then I found out afterwards, and then they became a sponsor, and so we're very helpful, very thankful for that. 3 easy steps to set up a webinar for up to 1,000 people. Really? I didn't know you could have that many people. I'm gonna have to do a seminar. Everything for one low flat rate, including the integrated audio conferencing. Use the promo code TWIST for a free 30-day trial, and if you go do that, forward your 30-day trial receipt or email confirmation, whatever, to contests@thisweekend.com, and maybe we'll send you one of these beautiful bags.
And so if, I don't know, Brad from TopSpin is watching, but he does a weekly webcast with TopSpin. Maybe we should change to this. So Brad, if you're watching,
change to
GoToWebinar. 1,000 people. I think
1,000 people.
I think we're
flawless.
I think we've got way less than that on because we're capped out with whatever we're using now, which I won't even mention. So
don't even
Brad,
mention it.
Come on.
Use the 1,000
go do this
user
Brad.
version, and they've been a great sponsor. Thank them at GoToWebinar. So we see the music industry continuing to change, and I read at some point that Madonna and Jay-Z start signing $100 million deals, 360 deals.
With Live Nation.
With Live Nation, and I say, wait a second, what is a 360 deal? I start doing a little research. That turns out to be for the music, for the touring, for the...
Everything.
for the everything, for the 360-degree version of the artist.
And the labels are doing the same sorts of deals.
Are they starting to do them now?
Yeah, the Warner Music Group is nearly strictly 360 deals, or with new signings.
Right.
They're going that direction.
So what is that, and does it make sense for people like Live Nation? Is that going to become like a real business for them? Or
Live Nation has actually already publicly said they're not doing that many of them. They might do it for the U2s or Madonnas, but they were actually starting to do it on down the line, and they've stopped. They've realized that's not their expertise. But the labels, I actually think it does make sense. Here's the way I would put it. I think, again, like I was saying at the beginning, artists need help.
Right.
So the question is, who's going to help them? It used to be that the recorded music business was big enough that was a business unto itself.
The $17 CD could sustain the Tommy Mottola Madness private jets and whatever Pearl Jam.
Exactly, and it can't now. It's really but for the artist, it actually does work better when all the marketing is working working together.
Right.
With what you're doing on the road works with what you're selling, and the person who's
the merch. The merchandising. They call it merch.
Merch.
I'm showing that I'm very into the business. The merch.
The merch.
The merch, the events.
Yep.
What do they call the events? What's the industry?
Ticketing.
Live
merch
industry. Ticketing, and live.
And recorded music. And there's also sponsorships.
And sponsorships. All working together. You can go to somebody like Pepsi and say, you're going to be participating in merch, live, and in the songs, and online.
Yep. And they're, the person who really has the 360 deal is the artist and the manager.
Right.
What we've been saying, is do a 360 deal with yourself first, right?
Right.
But then you do need to look for partners. So it might be that you work with a label. It might be that you work with a label on a 360 basis. It might be, we worked with David Byrne and Brian Eno on a project, and the way they did it was, they went to a distributor and did what they call a P&D deal. It's a production and distribution deal. So it's, David Byrne is not calling up Barnes & Noble and saying, hey, will you take 1,000 CDs, right?
Right.
You need a partner who's going to do that.
Right.
And the good news is you just have choice as to who you partner with on that. Warner Music Group with Atlantic Records and this little label inside Fueled by Ramen that has Paramore, they've done a great job with their bands on a 360-degree basis. And for the right artist, that might make sense. The bottom line is that every artist already has a 360 deal with themselves.
Right.
They just need to choose who the right partners are around the table.
For each of those pieces.
And the interesting thing is that I think you'll find this interesting. That I'm encountering people who are investors that want to invest in content. So it might be that who you have sitting around the table is Beck, his manager, and somebody with a checkbook. Right? Now, from that point, you actually kind of have a label. You can go hire the pieces that you need.
Right. So the investor says, here to Beck, here's $250,000. Go hire a graphic designer, an engineer, a tour manager, whatever, and let's blow this album and tour out for the next 18 months.
Yep.
And I'll put $250 in, and then I get whatever out.
Exactly. I'm going to own a piece of the entire project for this length of time. So again, the coolest thing for me is that there's
It's almost like
ton of
startups.
choice.
Then it feels just like angel
very
investment.
much like startups.
So is there an angel investing function in music now?
There is.
Yeah. What are they called? Do they give producer credit?
I don't think they really have
Angels?
a name yet. Yeah, I think they're angels at this point.
Huh.
And then if you look at models like the Kickstarter model and what that's doing for a lot of artists, that's another form of
Explain what that is to the audience if they don't know it.
So with Kickstarter or a company like PledeMusic or there's Celeband in the UK.
Indiegogo.
I don't
movies,
know.
I think Indiegogo.
Okay, yeah. It's effectively if we're kind of what comes after Pro Tools, those guys are what's before Pro Tools, right? I'm trying to put a project together. Here's what I have in mind. I need $12,000. You put it up on Kickstarter and people can pledge. Yeah, if you make it to 12 grand in commitments, I'm good for 25 of that.
Right.
And then they get up there and Kickstarter cuts them a check and off they go and they go work on their project, and those pledgers, get something. They get premiums for having pledged. Thank you, a signed version, a poster, something.
Whatever.
But I think that there are a lot of alternate funding models, and all that the best thing is just giving artists choice. It's not the I've got to get signed, I got to get signed. Where are the gatekeepers? You still have gatekeepers, and the gatekeepers are the consumers who aren't going to listen to your music if it sucks. But the gatekeepers are not somebody in an ivory tower somewhere who decides what gets through. Things quality is hyper efficient.
So what works for making money today? What's going to work tomorrow? You see some song like this Friday song that came out. It's now over 50 million views. I know that YouTube makes about somewhere between $1 and $3 per 1,000. So by my math, that's $50,000 to $150,000, depending on when they told her they would put advertising in front of it if she had a partnership, or whoever this label is, that's label, or work for hire
that's
company.
actually, exactly. That's actually a good example. That's a little company in the Valley that produced that track.
Yeah, that seemed to be for pay. Like
right.
your parents pay to give you an album or something.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure how their
That's
business
what I heard.
works.
I heard it's like a bar mitzvah kind of gift kind of thing.
Wow.
Like, we're gonna, that's what Crack said or something like. The parent pays $2 or $3 grand and they make a music video with your kid and then you put it on YouTube and then you're gonna break out.
Right.
And it happened. Which just, it's like, so they're interviewing him. I don't know if it's a real interview or not on Crack, but they're sort of doing this interview and it's like, so this is not a scam, right? And it's like, well, they got 50 million views, so how is it a scam? You know, like, it was a scam. It is no longer a scam.
Right.
Now,
but I think that's it. So to answer your question, what works? You got to have something people care about.
Right.
There's no software that any of us are going to make that is going to make people listen to something that's crap. The good news is that consumers have choice. So what to me, what we're all about is building software that just makes what happens next efficient, so that if someone does want to share it, there's no friction when they want to share it, and you can drive them back to a high dollar sale. We have, with our stuff, our average revenue per transaction since the day we opened our doors is $22. For a lot of for a lot of things like what we do with a lot of, with known bands, whether it's Beastie Boys or Linkin Park or whatever, average revenue transaction is in the $50 to $60 range, and the moment you put tickets with it, our average revenue per transaction is $90.
Whoa.
So we're not in the 99-cent download business. Do
you actually sell tickets, or do you, like, is Eventbrite the player there, or who becomes the player there?
We do sell tickets.
Wow.
Mostly because people want to bundle them together with other things. Right? So it's, for example, just to give you an extreme example, Linkin Park. Linkin Park, sells, they started by giving away music with TopSpin, gathering fans. We've, helped them take their fan list to a place where it wasn't before. Next, they did a pre-sale of the record, and you could buy the record plus a skateboard, the record plus a T-shirt, the record plus a box set. Right?
Bundling.
So big bundles up to like $250 was the top level item.
And do people actually buy those?
Absolutely, yeah.
What would, I'm not without saying what they sold, but is that, do people doing those kind of bundles sell a couple of dozen or a couple of hundred, a couple of thousand?
A big successful artist, it'll be in the couple thousand range, right? A smaller artist, I have an artist.
Well, a $250 thing, if you sell 4,000, by the way, that's $1 million.
Yeah, so we had 1,000 Linkin Park skateboards and we sold all of them.
Wow.
Now there's
$250,000.
Yeah, it's
and so the margin's got to be 50%.
Yeah, it's a skateboard deck that they put their name on, right?
Wow.
So and I gotta say, it was actually a great product. They made a beautiful skateboard, custom cut. And they signed it, So
people spend $250 on other skateboards and things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that seems like a pretty good deal.
But then they did ticketing, and they did fan club ticketing. And there's a ton of there's a lot of people want exposure to the artists, and Linkin Park does a really good job taking care of their fans. They actually have these sort of meetups. Where the fans can come, fan club members can come, and they actually spend the day with them.
Wow!
So I
hung out with one of the Linkin Park guys, with Kevin Rose up in the
Shinoda.
Shinoda, nice guy.
He's super great.
We were eating Indian food at 2 a.m.
Right.
I was like, "What do you do?" He's like, "Oh, I'm in a band." I said, "Oh, what band is that?" He said, "Linkin Park." I said, "I heard of it."
Yeah. and he's a master at really taking care of his fans. He really cares. Those guys, when you go see them live, they stand around on the stage for 5 minutes after the show just saying thank you and taking everything from the stage and dumping it into the audience.
Sweet.
They care. Right. And so with their fan club, what they did is we helped them pre-sell their tickets. So before they're on sale to the general public, day 1 was annual subscribers only. Day 2, monthly subscribers, and day 3 was anyone who'd ever bought anything from their website.
Got it.
So they were able to, using our software, kind of segment and
So you're like a consulting firm and an e-commerce company and a software as a service company, all rolled up into one. Because I'm assuming that they don't understand these best practices just natively. They need to be sort of guided through what's worked and what hasn't.
Linkin Park understands them more than most, but there's definitely a service side. For us, it's very Salesforce.com-esque, where here's the software, come sign up. Have fun.
Does that mean you're going to add a Kickstarter to it? It would seem like that's where the big money is raising money to do projects.
It's definitely a part. We'd like to work with the Kickstarters of the world because I think they do great.
let's bring in. Do we have any questions, Tyler, in the chat room there?
No.
Okay, let's bring Brocco in to do the news.
Oh, how can? Here's one while we wait for him.
Yeah.
How can TopSpin help brand new bands just getting started?
Okay.
So we have a lot of new bands on the system, and the tool set. The cool thing is that the tool set works for any band. The scale is just different, right? So a small band is going to collect 250 to 5,000 emails instead of 50,000 to 500,000 emails. But the tools work just as well for small bands as they do for large bands, and it's really kind of about building that net. So when people care, they've got a place they can give you their email address, they can connect with you on Twitter, connect with you on Facebook, make all of that workflow easier for you.
Which is really what the labels should have been doing all along, but they were just so with their head in the sand trying to fight this other battle. Like,
well, and
they should have built all these tools.
It is a smaller business than they want to run.
Right.
Right. It's
but
not,
to you, it's awesome
small
business.
Bands,
yeah.
Absolutely.
You're passionate.
But one thing I'll say is,
how do you make money? You just charge for the software, take a percentage of sales?
Both. So we charge, the bottom version is $10 a month, and if you use the code TWIST today, 3 months for free.
Oh, well, everybody go do that. 3 months for free.
And we take 15% of the transaction.
Oh, so very reasonable.
Yeah, I think so for the integrated suite of tools. What I was going to say though is I tell new artists, don't sell anything until you have at least 2,000 or 2,500 fans.
Right.
What we see is people, they come in, they go, I put my stuff up online and no one bought it. This must not work.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, at the beginning, you don't need money, you need fans.
Right.
Give stuff away.
Yeah.
And make fan connections and start there. Don't start like, hey, come buy my $250 box set. Like, your mom is going to buy that in the early days. You've got to build fans, got to build trust with your fans and have a connection and a communication with them. Then you can think about selling them something.
It's awesome. Let's bring in Brocco. We'll do the news.
Well, how you doing?
Good, good. Tell us the first story in the news.
So, big story. I had a big newsletter about this yesterday. So, color.com,
yes,
which has 7 founders, including Bill Nguyen, who sold Lala to Apple in 2009, and Peter Pham, who founder of Bill Shrink.
He was on this program.
Raised a massive $41 million.
Hey-o!
Round was led by Sequoia Capital,
Bain
Capital, and Silicon Valley Bank. The app, available on the iPhone and Android at launch, allows you to
I heard
connect.
the Silicon Valley Bank is just a loan. It's just like loan funding. But anyway, keep going.
So basically, this app allows you to share photos with individuals. There's been no shortage of applications that share photos, but this app does it differently by sharing with people around you. So what you see is based on the photos that people around you are taking.
Correct.
So what do you think about this app? First and foremost, $500,000 they spent both for color and color, the English British spelling, for the domain. What do you think of that? $41 million, huge amount. And then finally, what is your take on this sort of unique spin on photo sharing?
Yeah, so the team at the Launch Newsletter wrote this yesterday, and when I say the team, I've got 2 researchers full-time, Karen and Carolyn, so they did a bunch of research on it, and then I helped with the analysis, obviously. You can tell my style in there when I'm writing it. The $41 million pre-launch is pretty stunning. Mahalo raised $21 million pre-launch, so that's double what we raised, and we were a pretty hot startup at that time. It's not uncommon to raise $20 million for a consumer web-facing product pre-launch if you're coming off a hit, which I was at the time, which they are both coming off hits. Peter did Photo Bucket, and then Lower My Bills Part 2. What was it called? Bill Shrink. Right. So
Still going, yeah.
Still going. You have 2 amazing entrepreneurs going into a space where the lead competitor, number 1 competitor, is worth now, I heard, $100 billion. There are people in the Middle East who want to buy Facebook shares at $100 billion. The top price being paid in the United States is $70 or $80 billion. The number 2 candidate in that space is MySpace, which is plummeting like a rock, according to statistics. So what that means is there will be a number 2, and people, you only need anecdotal evidence to know that there will be a number 2 engine, a social network, and it will be based on mobile, clearly, because mobile is the trend. Well, what is the number 1 activity on Facebook? Photos. What's the number 2 activity? Social games. So Path was the first one, worth $100 million, raised a ton of money, and now you get the second one. It's twice as much money as they need, probably, but for someone like Sequoia, pretty easy bet. I'm a little biased in this because obviously I'm friends with Sequoia and was an entrepreneur in residence there. Pretty easy bet because if it's another $20 million and they have a $600 million fund, because it's great entrepreneurs going after a big, fish, a big whale, social networking, and somebody's going to be number 2. Why not just let them work and not have to worry about money when what's at stake is $100 billion, $200 billion in market cap? It is stunning in terms of the size of it, but there's been other ones that have been half that size or 2/3 that size. People are just getting a little caught up in it. There's real technology here on the product side. On the domain name side, Color's worth $1 million. Those 2 domains are worth $1 million together. I'm surprised Kodak didn't own it already or something like that. So $500,000 for 2 great domains, no big deal. Music.com would be worth $10 million. AOL, I've probably paid $10 million for games.com. People will pay that for a single word in the English dictionary language, common word. The app is pretty fascinating. An implied social network, people are calling it the implicit. I don't call it implicit because that assumes that it's correct. I say implied.
Right.
So if we all took a picture in this room right now, we'd all see each other's photos. That's brilliant. I've never heard of anybody doing that. That's brilliant. We did see Domo doing who's in the room and what are their interests. So, and then there's Grindr, which is a gay app for the gay community, which is like, here's a bunch of hot guys, and how many feet away from you are they, and here's their pictures. I've seen other things like this, and this is like Grindr, except better, because it's for everybody, and it's not just one photo, it's all photos. So over time, when I pulled around the corner here, I was parked at the light, and I took a picture with it on the way in, knowing that you were going to ask me about it, and I saw that 2 or 3 people here had used pictures of it, and it just clicked for me. But everybody's using it right now. It doesn't work because there's nobody else in your network yet. You're the first user in. They take a picture and go, this is stupid. When you take a picture and there's 20 other pictures there, it's not stupid. Yep. And when you start chatting with those people, it's brilliant. I don't know. Would you play with it yet? What do you think?
I haven't played with it yet, no.
Yeah. What do you think of the premise, the implied social network?
I agree.
Or implicit?
I think it's. I mean, I think to your point, there's a the space is still young, right? So with this much money, they've got plenty of headroom to take this which is today a pretty simple app and go and take it much further. So you got to assume they're going to do more with the implied social network than just take photos around it. But if they take that kind of orthogonal that vector that's orthogonal to Facebook and do something really unique with it, I think there's a ton of promise here. And Sequoia's betting on those guys, right? They're guys with track records.
They gave him 4 years worth of runway instead of 2.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And Bill, Bill's, Lala was not his first rodeo either, right? He did, what was it, one box? Is that?
I can't remember.
What it was? I
heard another inside rumor, which is that Steve Jobs personally put money into this. That's the first you're hearing of that. But I heard Steve Jobs personally put his money in this, and then that created this massive frenzy for it.
Right, that makes sense too.
Which makes sense too, because he's never invested in anything.
Well, you know that the Apple ecosystem is going to be kind to it.
Yes, the Apple ecosystem they will accept his application.
Exactly.
His app is not going to get rejected.
Well,
Scoble said the funniest thing yet out of this was Scoble's audio review of it,
which was
hysterical.
Yeah,
absolutely hysterical.
It was on Cinchcast, and he just ripped. It's not like he was up at like 2 a.m. and half
He got very emotional about it.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. No one can ever say Scoble's not passionate about.
How come we don't have that queued up to play?
It's brilliant. Cue it up. But and his complaint is that for your first use experience, it's the worst app he's ever used because no one's on it, and he's in Half Moon Bay, and he has actually done the point he brings up, and a few other people have, is like the whole notion of why didn't it happen at South Park.
Robert Scoble, and here's why color blew its first opportunity.
Can you guys hear that in the chat room?
The new world won't give you second chances, and here's why. The real way companies are going to get distribution now is in these app stores. And we already know what Apple's App Store looks like. If you're featured on the top of the App Store, you get a lot of users. But go to Color's App Store page right now and look at the reviews it's getting. It's getting 2s and 3s and a lot of 1s. That means that in the future, is Apple very likely to feature them again? No, because there's 500,000 apps. And only 40 or 50 can get featured, can get, put into people's faces and get recommended by Apple. Apple has to pick the best apps to feature.
Hold on.
To make sure that its ecosystem remains healthy. And color isn't it right now. Okay, so the first reaction you have to an app is hugely important now. It's not like the old world where, it's a website where you come back and, and you give it a second chance. You're never going to hear about color again. You're going to always have in your memory the memory that the thing sucked and it just didn't do anything. It's going to be like Path. My friends have given up on Path. And I can't get my family to try it because it doesn't work for them. And color is the same way. I download color. I load it up. It wants me to take a picture of myself. First of all, in the middle of the night, I don't want to take a picture of myself. Why can't I use the damn picture? I already have I guess I could have thought about uploading a picture. But the first thing it wants is for me to take a picture in the middle of the night while I'm trying apps. Well, that's not a good first experience, first of all. But even if it was, let's say that's a good first experience. Then I took a picture and put it up, and I looked around the app, and there's nothing else there. I can't see anything. Because I'm in Half Moon Bay, there's nobody using this app yet. So there's no other pictures. So what, I have to get my wife to load it on her phone? No freaking way. No way. It's a horrid first experience. My first experience out of the box is, this thing is the lamest thing I've ever seen. I'm going to go back to Food Spotting, download Food Spotting, and look at the first experience there. At least you get some pictures of food, even if you're in the weird hinterlands of Montana. There's food pictures. So let's back up. If you have a bad first experience with an app, you're going to go to the iTunes App Store and you're going to give it a 1. You're going to say, this is the stupidest app I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Now, they have $41 million, so they're going to be around for a long time. And I'm probably blowing all sorts of opportunities to get interviews with a color team, which is actually a really good team. I mean, these guys are superstars. That's why they got $41 million, right?
Yeah, he goes on, but...
He could be drunk.
But being a superstar team ain't enough.
Drunks go,
You got to
that would
show
be
up
awesome.
with something cool. Now, this would have been sort of cool if it was released right before South by Southwest, because I would have tried it out.
Watch this.
MG Siegler would have tried it out there. There would have at least been 100 people who would have tried out an app there, because we were all trying out all sorts of stupid, lame, weird apps there.
That's a good point. It would have been great at South by Southwest.
Now I don't use a lot of them, but we tried them, and it worked sort of in Austin when you have 15,000 drunk geeks walking around with iPhones. It would have been brilliant to launch it at South by Southwest. This is actually a product that I would have launched. I would have said, yes, launch at South by Southwest. Who the hell missed their ship date? This should have shipped a week ago. It would have been a good experience for me at South by Southwest, because I would have launched, I would have started it up, and MG Siegler would have been there, and he would have been at a party
about MG.
showing his party pictures, and I would have been at a party, and everybody would have had a great first experience. But now we're having a bad first experience with this thing, and it's getting bad ratings in the iTunes App Store.
He's really centered on these ratings.
Now, what would I have done if I had run color? Instead of launching worldwide, I would have only launched in San Francisco and New York.
It's a good point
I
as
would have
well.
said, this is only for San Francisco and New York. If you don't live in San Francisco and New York, it will not work. It won't load up for you. You got to wait. This is how Foursquare launched, right? But here's the problem.
Is he running on the treadmill?
So much money. The pressure to go home, to go large, is so immense because the VCs and everybody, you're getting into the New York Times and into Forbes. I mean, they got a lot of PR because they got $41 million. And you when you take that much money, you feel pressure to go large on the first night.
He's so much better in audio than in text.
They should have followed Foursquare's path.
All right.
They should have said, okay.
All right. Okay.
Oh, the emotional
God.
roller coaster.
Wow.
I'm out of breath.
What was he doing at 2 a.m.?
I don't know.
I'm hoping he wasn't. And
You can't say that he's not passionate about startups.
He is passionate, and he's right about almost everything except that it's going to be a problem because Yes, they should have launched at South by Southwest.
That would have been a great idea. And they also just should have not gotten featured. They should have just got it out there to tastemakers.
They should have just let it into 2 markets. He's right. Let it into 2 markets. Let it grain some criminals.
Yeah.
Next story. Real quick.
Launch conference alum Shop Squad raised $1.25 million
from angels.
From a bunch of angels. So Shop Squad is a free service that connects advisors via live video chat. So if you're shopping, you go to the site, you select the product you're interested in, and then you can select an advisor to guide you through the process to purchase an item. And the community votes on and rates the advisors. You can see their expertise. And Shop Squad makes money from affiliate revenue. And they also give 75% of that affiliate revenue to the actual advisor.
That's cool.
So what do you think about this business model? Do you think people will come here to shop? So that seems sort of like the chicken and egg, getting people to use this service.
Yeah, I mean, here it is on my screen. And
do you have an advisor there?
I don't. I just they record. So if you went on there, part of it is if you went on there to get a baby stroller or a plasma TV, they would record your interactions, and then other people could benefit from it down the road. Your question was?
So how do you think they're going to drive people to this site versus going directly to their online retailer where they're sort of used to doing so?
Yeah, I mean, buzz, press.
But also, isn't it something that, like, if I were the retailer, like, let's imagine one of my artists wanted to have a link out to, want to talk to somebody about before you make this purchase, click here. Is it that sort of thing?
So, exactly.
I mean, so I think you would, rather than driving people in, it might be at the point of sale.
They could get somebody at the point of sale to say, like, hey, we have 100 different strollers. We'll go pick.
Could they do this as a sort of browser extension that would go onto any e-commerce site, and then you just click this button and
it's very proof of concept right now, and they have to see step 1, sort of lean startup mode. Do consumers want it? I think that this is a brilliant startup. That's why we selected it.
Yep.
I think it was underappreciated at launch, frankly. It's a bigger idea than maybe it got credit for. I think it's just one of those things, like some of your work in music, it may be too far ahead. But in the future, I could absolutely see people walking up to their refrigerator and saying, I need a new, with their plasma internet thing built into it, just clicking and saying, my God, we need a new blender. Which one should we get? And then all of a sudden this person pops up. Hi, I'm the most intelligent blender person in the world. I've helped people buy 700 blenders. These are my top 5.
To answer Mike's question, though, about how they're going to drive traffic, there's 1 million people on Twitter every day saying, I need to buy this, I need to buy this.
Yeah, they can just go, come here. Here's a URL.
Yeah.
Now the question is, does it work for the people who are the experts? Are they going to make enough money or get enough social credibility?
I would have to say they do, because, I mean, even if it's anywhere near Amazon affiliate rates, like people
it would have to be a big ticket product, though.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, because it's a big ticket product, you need more advice. If it's a CD, you just buy it.
Yeah.
But so I think we have to be, like color, just be patient. Give them a year or 2 to figure it out. It takes a year or 2 for these companies to sort of settle in. I mean, everybody forgets Twitter took 3 years. Groupon took 4 years. Or 3 years, that's the point.
Yeah.
Craigslist. I mean,
Wikipedia.
Everybody wants these things to be Facebook overnight. It doesn't happen that way. Last story, and then we have a special musical number.
So quick story. So U.S. senators have sent letters to Apple, Google, and Research in Motion asking them to remove the DUI check-in applications. So these are applications that notify individuals of checkpoints that the police are at, real-time alerts, things like that. Research in Motion has actually already agreed to remove these apps. Apple and Google have yet to. So what do you think about this? Should Apple and Google remove these apps?
Google said they're not going to.
No. This is the problem with having an app store. Because now you become the freedom of speech, the Supreme Court, and you have to become the decider of, does this like pro-gay, anti-gay, pro-DUI, anti-DUI? I mean, we can all make reasonable discussions about these, but not everybody's reasonable on the planet. They shouldn't be involved in all these discourses. And the cops should be aware of that people know this. I mean, on the New York State Thruway, it was always common practice that if you passed a speed trap, you just flashed your brights when the people were coming the other direction to let them know.
Yeah, and you could just as easily pass a DUI checkpoint and tweet about it and tell people about it.
There's a million ways. So if they get rid of that way, they come. So what should happen is the police should be watching that. Everybody's saying there's a, Main Street has that, and then they should go over to Ocean Street, and they should have a surprise checkpoint there. I mean, it's so obvious. Like, you don't need to have senators writing this. This is the problem with senators. They're a bunch of blowhards who are trying to get reelected and get more money, so they just come up with some issue that appeals to grandmas, and they grandstand about them to try to get some money from some grandma or grandpa who's 60 or 70 years old or 80 years old, who got too much money, too much time on their hands, to go, oh my God, that's so wrong, it's, and they can shake their cane at it, and they get a bunch of money, and then they get reelected. They should be working on some real important issue, like the fact that 10% of the country is out of work and they're never going to get a job and they need to be re-educated, or that California is going bankrupt and we're gutting the school system as a result of it. Like, there are more important things to do than the stupid app that nobody's ever going to use on DUI, but I don't want to.
The state should make the app and make their money.
Exactly. Maybe the app could be, yeah. All right, let's bring in Brandon for a very special version of Friday to end our very musical number. Brandon is one of the fantastic guitar players at Mahalo. I don't know where he's going to sit or stand. Do we have an idea here of what we're going to do?
Right here.
Sit right on the table or something? Yeah, let's
Hey,
there you are.
what's
All right,
up?
now how is this going to work? You have the lyrics to Friday.
I have the lyrics here.
All right.
But we're going to make it a little bit cooler, maybe.
All right. Now, do you have a mic on you?
I do.
Okay,
I'm good
I
to
have
go.
my lyrics. Al, you got your lyrics?
Yes.
All right.
All right. You don't sing yet.
Okay.
7 a.m., wake up in the morning. Gotta be fresh, gotta go downstairs. Gotta have my bowl, gotta have my cereal. Seeing everything, the time is going. Ticket on and on, oh, the time is rushing. Gotta get down to the bus stop. Gotta catch my bus. I see my friends kicking in the front seat, sitting in the back seat. Gotta make my mind up.
Come on.
Which seat can I take?
Everybody.
It's Friday, Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Weekend. Friday, Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Here we go. Partying, partying, yeah. Partying, partying, yeah. Fun, 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 fun. Looking forward to the
This has been
weekend.
keep going. This has been an amazing This Week in Startups. We need to have a musical number every episode. Thank you, Tyler, calling in from the Philippines.
No, PP Island.
PP
Close
Islands.
enough.
Thank you, Ian. Continued success.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bracco, thank you for reading the news. You did an amazing job. Thanks to the crazy crew out there. Thank you, Matt and Will. And we'll see you next time on This Week in Startups.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah. Money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.